Hey everybody, it's Zach, aka Zach's Reviews, and we are back again with another review. This is the Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1 review. So I'm just happy to be back in the Mandalorian world, and, I'm just happy to see, Mando again and Baby Yoda. This is by far my favorite thing about Star Wars. I'm happy we don't need Jedis to really have Star Wars, a Star Wars, movie or a TV show. I'm happy, this is starting it all saying, we don't need Jedis to, make Star Wars. We can have great stories without being Jedi focused. How all these other movies make it sound like we need Jedis to have Star Wars, which we don't. And I feel like, I'm not happy with, all the new Star Wars movies we've been having. I hate all of them, I just don't like them at all. And this is pretty much saving me as a Star Wars fan, this show. Like, I love this show so much. So, we start off with, the recap, and then, we're with Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian. They're going into this town with these, there's these, animals everywhere in this town, and, they go into this club. It's like a fighting club, and he's meeting up with somebody to find out where he can find more Mandalorians. And then the one guy says, "Oh, there's a, we'll talk after the match is over. We shouldn't talk business. We should just talk. Watch the match. He was bet like say, have you ever bet Mando?" And then Mando's like, not when I don't need to. And then he said, I bet this guy won't survive or whatever. He's gonna die, and he shoots the guy. And then the Mando's like, pretty much like what the hell. And then he puts a gun to the Mando's head saying, I want that armor. That armor's worth a lot of money. And, the Mando, defeats them. The guy runs out the building, the main guy that's trying to, where Mando wants answers to find out where more Mandalorians are. He gets him, strings him up, says, you're going to tell me where they are. And then he said one's on Tatooine. And he's talking about Boba Fett, essentially. I feel like he's talking about, well, actually not talking about Boba Fett, essentially, but he's talking about Mando that's on Tatooine. And in my head, I'm like, okay, probably Boba Fett, because, we heard Boba Fett's going to be in this. And we kind of saw him the last episode of, the last season. So I was like, okay, I'm excited to what's going to happen. So next thing you know, we go to Tatooine. We run into one of the old friends we met in the last season. The girl with the robots, and you could tell Mando, likes droids after, the one droid, sacrificed himself at the last episode, and they're fixing up a ship, and, Baby Yoda goes with them to this town in, Tatooine, and it just reminds me of just, memories of seeing Luke on Tatooine, and seeing, Anakin there, and just it reminds me of just the good old days of Star Wars, where we saw, Luke on Tatooine and then Anakin. It was just great to see Tatooine again. So, next thing you know, we're there. He goes to this town. He finds this Mandalorian, and it's not Boba Fett, but it's Boba Fett's gear. And and the Mandalorian's like, and then he says, he sits down, has a drink with this guy, but the guy takes off his helmet, and that's how we know that this guy's not a real Mandalorian. He just took off his helmet. So he said that. He explains how he got the armor, and it pretty much makes sense how he got the armor, because Boba Fett fell in the sand pit, and that thing ate him, and the gear was all trashed and all that stuff. But he explained how he got it, and it all makes sense. So the Mandalorian's like, that's not yours. I want it. And he said, let's have a deal. There's this creature that comes in, eats our our creatures, and eats our loot and stuff that we get. So there's a big attire, he says, okay, you give me the gear, I'll help you defeat this thing. They do it. They work together with the Tusken Raiders, because the Mando's, he can communicate with them. He's not, they really don't bother Mando, the Tusken Raiders. So they communicate. They all work together. The sheriff, which is not the actual a part of the Mandalorian core. He's just just a guy that got the armor just to help his town, so he could protect the town. So the Tusken Raiders and him, the sheriff, and the town all work together to defeat this creature. And there was a cool sequence where it all turned to IMAX, and you see the Mando and the sheriff fly around trying to defeat this thing along with them, setting up a trap and stuff like that. And the first things first is the trap doesn't work. Then you see them fly up, and it turns to IMAX, and just you see different things, and you can really see they're getting more creative by the second season. You tell they're really getting creative so far. Which that's the first IMAX sequence we've ever saw on Disney Plus, and it is fire. They did an amazing job, great choreography, great fighting. Just overall, I was very happy with this episode. And it doesn't work when they set up the traps of the bombs underneath when the creature comes out the cave. And, they're shooting, like, these big metal arrows at them and, trying to really, like, pull it out so the bombs could, get under, because the only weakness is the stomach, the only weakness. It doesn't work. Then, it cuts to when they're flying up and, because the thing got its way up to the mountain. And, they're flying, it turns to IMAX, they're doing all these cool things, nothing is working. Mando has an idea where, it's back on the lower ground, and it's trying to go back into its cave, or it's just trying to, cause havoc and trying to eat people that are, trying to defeat it. Mando says to the sheriff, make a distraction. He shoots the big, missile at him from his jetpack, and it gets his attention. Mando hits the sheriff's jetpack, he flies off or whatever, and then, he's standing with I think it's a wampa or whatever, I don't know if I'm correct on that or not, but it's that creature. And a whole bunch of, like, C4s are on it, like bombs. And, he gets swollen with the wampa. And then, they go underground, and we think, okay, he's dead, because the last thing he says is, take care of the kid for me. And then we just see it come up, it's all getting electrified, because, the Mando has a spear, electrifies it, gets out of the stomach, blows up the thing, it blows up, and then it just ends right there. And then we see him, at the end of it, everybody's, the Tusken Raiders are, getting the meat off the bones of the big creature. They call it, like, the dragon. And then everybody's just getting the meat. There's a big slab of meat on the Mando's speeder bike. And, they and then Baby Yoda's right next to it, and then he covers it up, and then the sheriff gives back, what's his face's gear, Boba Fett's gear. He gives it back. And they said, just so you know, I'm not the one that ruined the outfit. Meaning, Boba Fett did. He wasn't the one that ruined it. Boba Fett did. So, next thing you know, we see him, and then they say to each other, I hope we see you again. That's what the sheriff says. And then Amanda's like, same, I hope I see you. And then they go riding off. And the next thing you know, we see just a figure standing there. Like, while the Amanda's driving off with a speeder bike. And then he turns around this guy. And guess who it is? It is Boba Fett. It's Boba Fett. And he has a big gash on his face. Dude's alive. I can't wait to see where this is going to go. I hope he actually gets his outfit back or a new one. And he's back as Boba Fett. That'd be so sick. But Boba Fett's not dead, guys. I hope we see more of what's going to happen. I'm just excited. And there's a scene where we see that, like, when he's telling the backstory of, how... where he was before he got the Boba Fett costume, the sheriff. You see the second Death Star blow up, like, on a projector, like it's on it's like, projectifying on how it's, like, blowing up right then and there. They're all celebrating and, all that stuff. And there's a group of guys that came in there, like his story, a group of guys that came in and, destroyed his village, and that's why he walked off with these crystals to buy, and then he came across, like, not the Tusken Raiders, but, I forget their names. Those little, the smaller guys with, like, the hoodies, they have the hoods on, the yellow eyes. They wanted to buy the crystal. They wanted to get the crystals, but they're like, oh, can we make, can you, like, I'll give you this to get so we can have the crystals. And then he pointed the Boba Fett gear, and he became, a Mando. And that's, they got afraid, the people that took over the village, and, he killed them, and, he was the sheriff all throughout, to protect his town. So that was the story of his. And I love how also he used old pod racer, like, engine as his speeder bike, which was a great callback to, pod racing. It was really cool. But overall, great episode. I'm happy to be back in the world of, The Mandalorian. Episode 2 will, be coming when, after, when episode 2 gets released, which I think is sometime next week, or I don't know when it is. I'll figure it out for you guys, but I'm going to be doing it episode by episode because, it's so spaced out, so it's easier for me to do that, because I have a busy life, but it's easy because, there's, I don't have to, keep watching it. It just comes out, after a couple of weeks and stuff like that. So episode 2 is coming. I hope you guys enjoyed my review on episode 1. Also, just big shout out to the Mandalorian creators because, the IMAX sequence was phenomenal. I'm happy. I hope we see more of that. I hope they, expand more of that cool sequences, because if we could do that on a screen like that, it's endless possibilities what we could see if we don't have theaters anymore, and if they could do stuff like that. Could you imagine if like Falcon and Winter Soldier or WandaVision has some IMAX sequences like that? That would be sick. But the possibilities are endless with Disney Plus, and if we don't get the theaters back, what they can achieve for if we don't have movies anymore. But let me know down in the comments what you thought about episode 1. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about my review. Let me know in the comments what you think about this episode, or even what we're going to see in the season, or what you think about so far of this season. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, because there's way more things to come. I'm almost done with My Hero Academia Season 3, so I'll be putting up that review soon. But yeah, and also stay tuned for, I think tomorrow, or actually Sunday's the last episode of A Queen's Gambit, so stay tuned for those videos. I have an episode by episode of that, so go check those out. And yeah, that was my review on episode 1 of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. I give it a 10 out of 10, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Peace.